The East-West Shrine Bowl continues to make strides as one of, if not the premier all-star game when it comes to the NFL draft. And if Eric Galko has his way, it will become the clear-cut number one. Today, Neil and I sit down with Eric and talk all things East-West Shrine Bowl, the process, who's doing the work, and what possibly we can be on the lookout as the 2026 East-West Shrine Bowl starts to take shape as we get into this college season. Really fun conversation, some really good insight from Eric, all that and more today on Scouting the League. Everybody, and welcome back to Scouting the League. Before we jump in with Eric Galko, make sure you head back, hit like, subscribe, and share wherever you are listening and watching this podcast, whether it's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or that video portion over on YouTube. Hit like, hit subscribe, most importantly, share it with a friend. If you like ball as much as you do, which, again, you're listening to this podcast or watching this video, we know how much you do. Share it with a friend who likes it as much as you do. The more listeners we have, the more we can continue to bring you great insight from across the NFL, from across college football, and from across every aspect that goes into the NFL draft, free agency, and everything that is football. Give myself a follow. I am Rodrik David at Right Step AD. That is Right Step Advising. RSAFootball.com is my website. Neil Stratton is at Inside the League on X. InsideTheLeague.com is his website. And check out his blog, SucceedInFootball.com. Went over one of his blog posts on our Friday wrap last week, talking about his book, Value Picks. If you haven't picked that one up, make sure you do everywhere where books are sold. Eric Galko is at Eric Galko on X. Make sure you give him a follow. Scouts and aspiring scouts, make sure you check out thescoutingcommunity.com as we continue to move the scouting industry forward, professionalizing it, giving you all the resources you need, whether you are an aspiring scout as part of a college football program, you want to be an NFL scout and need to, figure out how to take those steps. Check out thescoutingcommunity.com. Make sure you are also checking out blumaka.com, BLUMAKA.com, for those insoles that are going to change your performance, improve your performance, and change your recovery. Use code SCOUTING20 at checkout to receive 20% off on those insoles, whether they're for your turf toe, for recovery, for insole protection, whatever it is. Make sure you check out those and go back and listen to our conversation with Stuart Jenkins of Blumaka, his origin story into the insole game, his Olympic trial journey, and how he is getting into NFL, MLB, and all front offices for sports across the world with his insoles that are really, really comfortable. I can personally attest to those. Make sure you also set your notifications to hear Annie Duke, cognitive psychologist, decision-making, thinking, and best. Going to be a really fun conversation. Our Senior Bowl connection with Drew Fabiniak, as well as ESPN lead draft analyst Jordan Reed. All a bunch of really fun conversations, as well as all those that we are working on recording and scheduling right now. As Scouting the League continues to be a daily podcast, check out all the archives, all the scouting reports we have, everything we are bringing you to give you insight into the football world. But that's enough from just me. Let's jump in with Eric Galko. Well, Eric Galko, welcome back to Scouting the League.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me on again. Twice now.
Yeah, twice now. And again, it may be, it's been a once a year thing, but as we're now a daily podcast and we get more and more people that want to listen, and Neil and I drone on, they're really here for the guests. Maybe we can get you back on later in the year as we get closer to the game. Again, we're looking at January 27th, 2026, which is really weird to say 2026, but the date, I believe, is that the game, which means, of course, that week prior to the 27th is really when all the, we'll call it the scouting magic happens, as everybody's down in Frisco. The East-West 1,000 list just came out. So, again, continuing to move the game forward, continue to do really fun things. Got a ton to talk about. Highlights with the East. Where do we even start with where you guys are at now?
Yeah, it's great. I think the Shrine Bowl 1000 is really what we feel is our kind of like soft launch to the year. And I'm not sure we talked about it last time, but the Shrine Bowl 1000 kind of started a little bit tongue in cheek. It's a lot of players. 1,000 players feels like a lot, right? Oh my God, it couldn't be. But you guys know NFS and Blesto lists are thousands of players long as well too. So there's more than just a subset of guys that we're looking at. And 1,000 is a nice round number. We've got almost 4,000 players written up in our database. So more than 1,000 guys we'll consider. And there's also a smaller group of guys that we're pretty sure that are really good players we're positive on too. But the 1,000 list is a way for us to kind of get the message out there, the Shrine Bowl, that, hey, this is the doorway to the NFL, and this is your first chance to be viewed as possibly coming to the Shrine Bowl. But then also, hopefully for fans and media and heck, even NFL teams have told me, when's the Shrine Bowl 1000 list coming out? We put in our database around that list as well too. So for us, it's kind of our launch back. Like, hey, it's middle of summer, camps are starting up. Here's a list of guys that we're looking at, and let's talk about the Shrine Bowl for the 2026 calendar year.
Yeah. No, again, you mentioned that Blesto and NFS list, and I was on both sides of it where we weren't an NFS Blesto team, and then we were. And again, it was always a great cross check where, again, you've either done summer work as a scout, you're now on the road for a couple weeks at this point, and all of a sudden those names pop up, and it's like, oh, maybe it is a school visit instead of just a film watch and a phone call for some of those guys. Because again, it's a fantastic cross check, and it's always the funny, like, it's a lot of guys. 1,000 is a lot of names. 250 some players drafted, and again, how many more UDFAs and everything. And it's like, hey, if you want to be in the NFL, hopefully you're on that 1,000 list. It doesn't mean it's the end all be all. Again, if you're on it, it doesn't mean you're getting drafted. But if you're not on it, again, go out and have a great year. And again, there's going to be players. Do you have the number? It's going to be one that I didn't prepare you for. Do you have the number? Players that weren't on that initial 1,000 that ended up in last year's game. Do you know that number?
I think we had seven.
7 players.
And I think only six were not in 1,000 that were drafted. Don't quote me on those numbers too, but we did a pretty good job last year of kind of projecting who those guys may be as well too. And there's always going to be outliers.
Oh,
and
yeah.
again, one thing I always get bummed out about is that especially this industry, we're so locked in on draft picks. And then we're watching my guy, Max Brosmer, in Minnesota, going to make the roster as an undrafted guy as well too. We kind of like, oh, if you're not drafted, you're kind of lesser than or whatever else either. But I think for the most part, we feel we do a good job in capturing a lot of those guys too. But you mentioned it, that like, hey, these guys are going to merge in the season. There are guys that we have what we call end tags, which is not enough film to watch.
Yep.
We'll watch those guys in September. There'll be 20, 30 guys that were not in 1,000 that we didn't have enough film to evaluate on. They're going to be on the radar right away too. So it's a starting point, but we're pretty confident where we're at so far in the scouting process.
Eric, taking nothing away from Harold, he did a great job for as long as he did it, but you guys have really made strides in entering your fourth year, which we were just talking about. Wow, can you believe it's already year 4? Where are you based on where you want to be? Are you making the progress you want to make? Again, I've been a big fan of what you've done so far. I think anyone who's attended the games has seen, the strides y'all have made. But do you feel like you're where you want to be? Do you feel like is the best still ahead for you? I don't want to talk too much, but how do you feel? What grade would you give yourself as you move forward?
Grade I'll leave for someone else to do as well. But I would say it's two-pronged. One, I'm competitive. I like being competitive. I play pickup basketball 3 days a week, even though I'm in my 30s. Like, I'm still super competitive all the time. I want to compete too. And I think I've been pretty clear and mostly be transparent and not be hiding the ball of what this game I think should be and will be this year moving forward in the future as well too. Like it was for about 80 years of the history of the Shrine Bowl. It was this kind of premier event. I want to be there competitively. But in terms of our goals, I can't control all the variables that make something considered by other people the top event. But what we want to do is always have what we call a best in class event. That's my standard. It's something we can control, taking care of players, taking care of agents. And I think this year and for the next indefinite period of time, we're going to continue to be at an NFL facility. We're back at the Star this year in Dallas. We'll be at the Star, AT&T Stadium, or NFL facilities for the next so long of period. I'll save that for a bigger announcement coming here later this fall. But that commitment of being an NFL facility, being the only all-star game in an NFL facility matters to me, not because it sounds sexy. It certainly does. I hope it does, but also because we care about player health and wellness. And I feel that the best way we can do that is being at an NFL level facility, also give these guys a peek at what the NFL lifestyle is like by being in a locker room that Dak Prescott and Micah Parsons are playing at. Right. Mm-hmm. And then on that note as well, too, hey, our hotel is great. We have all the best recovery resources. I spend a lot of time in the summer finalizing those deals now to have hyperbaric chambers, cryotherapy units, a substantial amount of massage therapists. And I feel confident that no other All-Star game ever has had as much recovery focus and resources and personnel that we have the last couple of years and will continue to have as well too. And then our interview process, last but not least, is 20 plus hours of structured time. No other All-Star game has more than 12. So I say that partially to be competitive, but partially because if we're going to be the best, at some degree we have to compare to others. And I think we do a phenomenal job for all those people. I believe that. I think our staff believes that. I think players, agents, hopefully you guys can say, hey, the Shrine Bowl is the best at a lot of these things. And I've always hoped and believed that kind of if you build it, they will come. If we take care of NFL teams and agents and media, and especially players first and foremost, really well, not pressure them to do things, not make them feel bad about things, take care of them, make them a part of it, me be genuinely involved in their NFL draft process. I help these guys at interview prep and help get drafted as well too. And I think if you build, they will come too. And I hope this year and in the future years kind of it comes to fruition too. And last but not least, Neil, I hope that whenever it's my 4th year here, I'm not going to be here for 40 years. Whenever I do, whoever is after me at the Shrine Bowl can also keep that same standard and have that same standard to shoot for as well too. Because as a Shriners Children's Hospital, it matters to me that health and wellness is a huge focus for us, tied to our overall brand. And I think we're in a good position to keep having that best in class standard now and in the future.
Sure.
No, the facility is, unbelievable. Again, being able to go there, use it. Again, it is a standard setting thing. And again, you talk about the competition. And again, I think anybody that gets into any element of the game of football, it's probably because you're a competitor at a certain level. Otherwise, you probably don't last. And again, getting some of the feedback. And again, as you talk, whether it's all-star games, whether it's what's happened with the combine, whether it's what's happened with, again, the Big 12 pro day, different pro days, again, how it's all changing, the feedback portion is always a big part of it. And again, you mentioned the hospitality, not just for players. Again, you want a first-class standard setting week for players because that's what it's all about. But you just mentioned it, the agents. And again, I'll start including it, the NFL teams, the access for scouts, and then again, go one step further for aspiring scouts, media scouting, outside personnel like Neil and I. Again, that is what other all-star games and combines used to be, the go-to spots to get together, to rub shoulders, to be in similar spots. That's not the case for some of these other games anymore. And we all know who we're talking about, where, again, it is segregated. You don't have a central location. Is that something that you and the East West, hey, we want it to be accommodating for anybody that comes down to Frisco? You're going to have a chance to get together, to network, to see some players, be with agents, and do the whole thing all in one spot?
Well, 2 things. One, I appreciate you mentioned the other industry as well too. One of the cool things, and one thing I think our staff can be really proud of, is that the NFL Combine has kind of shifted their interview process to be a bit earlier. About 2 years ago, I'm pretty confident because we kind of made that kind of stride as well too. The HBCU All-Star event that the NFL League Office runs, they actually hired one of our scouts, Gerald Huggins, to be in charge there, and he adopted our interview process, our schedule for them as well too. And I think other All-Star games, Senior Bowl included, maybe change their interview process too and what they're offering. So it's been rewarding that, hey, I know it's helpful for us, but it's also cool that, hey, our philosophy on taking care of players is a little bit spreading in the industry. One of my other goals for the Shrine Bowl, aside from the players, and I'll always stress the players are my most important thing above NFL teams, right? If it's making a GM happy or making our player happy, there's been many times where I've had a GM be really mad at me because I defended the player. I'm going to keep doing that. That's who I work for, is the players and Shriners Children's. But one of the other benefits I want to have for this event, we're going to announce something here in the next couple of weeks, hopefully when it's finalized, is tied to this, is I want to have NFL personnel and agents and people like you guys to come down there and say, hey, the practices and the players were great, but I also learned this cool technology. I met this great person. I learned this new analytical tool that I can use in my process. Again, I think for NFL teams especially is my focus, but really for everybody to not just go down there just for practices and evaluate players. That's something we're going to do. I've been to All-Star games for 20 years. You guys have as well too. Like that stuff, we can't change All-Star practices too much to make that same thing. It's going to be one-on-one, O-line, D-line. It's going to be one-on-one receivers. It's going to be 7-on-7. But I think the other stuff around the event we can keep doing. For example, last year we had our Wilson throwing session, which was surprising to me, a huge hit. But what we had is our quarterbacks basically do a structured, easier to some degree pro day in front of NFL personnel, and Wilson Football, our partner, tracked all the data. So it allowed you to watch these guys in a pro day setting, which I was surprised. We had everybody there. It was by far the most attended pro day of last year's draft cycle. No questions asked. It was 800 scouts watching our 6 quarterbacks. But along with that, more than half of those scouts that watched it stayed afterwards and heard a presentation from Wilson Football about spin rate, release quickness, velocity, all those kind of things, because those scouts want to learn as well too. And if those scouts said, hey, I watched Kyle McCord throw, or watched Max Brosmer throw, or watched Cam Miller throw, and I also learned how to better evaluate myself as a quarterback and maybe talk to Wilson, that's a really cool thing that I want to keep adding to the event as well too. So the networking piece, we're going to have continued happy hours this year, more in aggressive way. We have a couple other restaurant partners this year that people can meet up with for lunch or dinner between practices and between at the end of the event as well too, that we'll announce closer to the event, because I do want to have a stronger networking. And now that we're going to be in the Dallas area indefinitely in the future, I want to keep building that relationship. But I do hope that people will come to the Shrine Bowl with the intention of watching practice and evaluating players and meeting NFL teams, but hopefully get something else out of it too. Learning, meet somebody, meet a great aspiring scout. All those things are really important to me too.
Well, Eric, as you said, it's about the players, and I get that, and it is about the players. But at the same time, I think the access is unrivaled among the All-Star games right now. And I don't say that as a criticism of Drew. I'm hopeful that Drew will maybe make things a little bit more accessible for people like Rodrik and me and others. I think around the game, it's certainly the trend over the last couple of years has been a negative one, but that's not the case. Y'all have been outstanding, and I just want to thank you for that on behalf of the NFL community, I guess you'd say.
I will say, Neil, I don't mind saying it either. A lot of that comes from the NFL league office and the NFL teams wanting to restrict that access. But I will say that one way we've done it is I've said, first off, no, because I work for the Shriners Hospital at the NFL, and I think NFL teams appreciate it. But we have a lot of staff on site as well too. So if we feel an NFL personnel is getting bothered, we'll stop it. But I'd rather give access to you guys to do your job versus tell you can't go behind this line. That feels disrespectful in my opinion. So we'll never have that.
It's definitely frustrating without a doubt. Now let's talk. We're talking about scouts. Yep. Let's talk about your team, Eric. You're at the top of a mountain, but you've also got some pretty impressive pieces there. Some people that are out there all around the nation looking at bird dogging for you. And I know that you're getting ready to make an announcement next week, but how much can you tell us about the people that work for you and the process, how the evaluation kind of whittles down to the selection being offered?
Yeah, it's our team is a huge importance to me too. And we've had probably 3-4 people a year almost the last decade leave our staff to go to NFL or major college jobs. We just had one person who used to work for us just get a job elsewhere in the college area as well too. So I like this idea of being a true kind of development tool as well as a factory. And I'm honest that we have great NFL experience scouts, but we've also turned away NFL experience scouts for scouts that aren't in the NFL yet but are good. I want good scouts, right? I don't want a name. I don't want just scouted 20 years in the NFL. So I want our staff, they have a real say. And one thing I care about with our team is, our philosophy, my philosophy is the goal of a scouting report is so the reader doesn't have to watch the film, right? If you write a report and I got to go watch and write my own report, then what the hell am I your report for, right? So I trust our scouts a lot. They make a lot of these decisions. I get too much credit on players we have at the event. And our scouts really deserve it, and they do a great job. But I expect a lot of them, and I think we've got a great balance of experienced NFL scouts, younger guys who will be in the NFL or major college here, pretty soon, and that leads to great discussion, different perspectives, which matter a lot to me, and we've got a lot of good people. So to name drop a few, Michael Coe, who I believe was on your guys' show, one of the best scouts. I think if you talk to NFL clubs, agents that he's talked to since he left the NFL, he's nails. Like he crushes reports all the time. He's a great scout. He's on our team. Curtis Knox, recently with the Las Vegas Raiders, is on our scouting team this year as well. We've had experienced scouts, guys who have been in the league for a little while, but Greg Gabriel and Matt Buchenmeyer, both guys long time in the NFL. And then recently this year, we'll announce we've added Tom Gamble to our advisory team as well. And Tom's been a good friend of mine, a great scout, and Tom is as not only good evaluator, but as honest, straightforward, no nonsense as it gets to, which I value a lot in our team as well too. So we've got a big scouting staff, scouting team we'll announce here probably before week 0, but a good mix. And I always say that, hey, everyone on our scouting staff is of equal importance and has equal say in a lot of areas too. So if you don't know this name, but you know Michael Coe, hey, they're both really good scouts. And I believe NFL teams and colleges are going to start more and more, as they have in the last couple of years, start pilfering our staff more and more. But great team, and hopefully those names are a little bit appealing to when we announce our staff next week.
Now, when you've got people that are this talented, and those are some great names, they're going out, they're canvassing the nation, they're sifting through the players, they're looking at the top 1,000, what have you. Did they say, listen, Eric, I've got these, I went to this game, I've got these 4 guys I like, they kind of pop for me. What's the process there? I mean, is that how it goes? Do they kind of recommend to you? I mean, did they submit some kind of formal thing? Do they
No,
write up a report? How does that work?
Yeah, we expect reports, and that's what I kind of have standards either. I don't want just name dropping here or there. We have a different structure, a little bit similar to how I think the Rams and the Jaguars kind of do it. Where we've got an area scout group, and we've got what we call a positional scout group. We're doing by position, so we've got a good cross check tool there built in place. We've got 2 grades, not counting my grade or our director's grade, and every single player, which helps. But no, they're writing reports. Going to games is not something we care as much about, just because we don't, these guys are not everyone on our entire team is worthwhile to go there. And a lot of these guys are taking a year off of the NFL because of other stuff going on as well, or opportunities too. But our guys are responsible for a conference and a set number of teams. One of the benefits of that is that, hey, if a player from Memphis gets invited to the Shrine Bowl and gets drafted, and it's like, how'd you guys find that guy? I can point directly to that scout and say he's the one who did. I think I did it last year. In the last couple of years, we'll do a thread after the draft and say, hey, this scout is why this guy was at the Shrine Bowl and why he had success. And that matters a lot to me when these guys want to go to the NFL. This is a real resume thing. They can say, hey, I've got ownership of this too. So all of our guys have conference and team alignment as well as positional players at the FCS level. So we've got it feels complex on the outside. I think we have a pretty good process of how to watch these guys, not miss any guys, have our staff go to games they like to as well. But we're focused on team by team, conference by conference, not a go to the game, send me some pictures of you on the sidelines, and then go home. We don't focus on those kind of things.
Well, I know that the social media piece is important, and I'm kind of with you on that, Eric. I don't really care to see video of someone working on the sidelines. But at the same time, that is an important part of it. Yeah. Are you doing anything differently this year to kind of keep that fresh?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the social media, a little tongue in cheek there too, but the social media, and I'll just say it, Jim Nagy, former director of the Senior Bowl, did a great job on social media. It's something he prioritized. It's something I haven't. It's not worth saying right or wrong. He just did a great job with it and prioritized it quite a bit. And we've done more of it. We've added more to our content and PR team at the Shrine Bowl as well. So we'll have a little bit more on the social media this year as well from my account as well. But part of it is really to engage with players and colleges and not necessarily, I know agents have told me like, hey, don't tweet about these guys. don't do that. You're just telling the rest of the world about it too. And honestly, there's some of it where a lot of agents, I want to be an open book to agents and share information. And I don't want agents to think if I share this guy who's maybe viewed as NFS or Blesto, a low ranked guy, and I tell Eric, is he going to tweet about him? I don't want to violate that either as well too. So it's a delicate balancing act. And that's what some of the feedback that was negative on other people tweeting about stuff was out there as well too. So it's a balancing act, but I take a lot of pride in that this job, right or wrong, puts myself and the Shrine Bowl on the forefront of the NFL draft process. And the people that follow us are people that are looking for information on the NFL draft. So I want to make sure we tap into that a bit more this year as well too. But we're not going to have as much Saturday pregame stuff, and we're also not going to be tweeting 5-6 times a day. A lot of my social media is meant to be pretty pointed, and we'll highlight players. We'll do our best to award those guys as well too. We've got a lot of assets in the Shrine Bowl account as well that we'll have, but won't be a huge part of my focus. But I will be ramping up a bit from previous years on social media because it is important, Neil. I'm glad you brought that up.
No, it is, especially these days. I mean, people kind of expect that kind of thing out of All-Star games, and that's great because as Rodrik and I are both big fans of the process. We're big fan of All-Star games. We love to see them grow, whatever it takes. Now, at the same time, having done a little research, Eric, on the kind of lower tier All-Star games, we're seeing a lot fewer guys get to 90s, or a lot fewer UDFAs come out of those.
Yeah,
you have the potential to have 4 what I would call expenses paid games, besides y'all and the senior. The American Bowl, which I think is going to be a very representative game, and then the Hula Bowl, I think, is returning this year. That's 4 games where if I'm a player and I'm good enough, I'm going to be able to fly there, stay there at no extra charge, unlike some of the other games. I'm not picking on them. I work with one of them.
Yep.
But do you think they're still, given the way that the game has evolved, given the way that so many of the bigger schools are eating off of the sub FBS plate, and some of the bigger players are getting identified sooner, is there still a need for the All-Star process? And if so, is there a need for as many games as there are, in your opinion?
It's a good question. And I think for one, the All-Star games need to change a little bit. And that's why I put such a huge premium on the interview process. Because I think the expectation that players need to do this, I think players now are sophisticated, asking good questions. And I think a lot of it, agents and players have been burned where they've been forced to practice or they've gone somewhere and they're not taken care of. And they're like, F this, I'm not going. And I'm telling my teammates, don't come either. I think there needs to be a little repair there as well, too. And I hope that whether new All-Star games like the American Bowl, and hopefully Scott does a great job there, or the Hula Bowl with new people, or other All-Star games that may pop up in the future, I hope and I think if they're going to be successful, they've got to innovate and be creative, right? I think there's some things that we've innovated for, but part of my focus is I got to do the Shrine Bowl, right? And I think if I do an All-Star game from scratch, I maybe do things a little bit radically different and try some stuff out, right? And I love our process, but I think if you're a new All-Star game, you want to probably try something different and be unique in that sense versus just being formulaic. I think to your point, Neil, like the 4 practices in a game, All-Star game, do we need 4 or 5 or 6? Or probably not. But there's other ways to kind of be unique in that. And I've told the NFL league office as much as well too, like, hey, I think we need to be a little more open on what an all-star game is, what that constitute is. What I say all-star event, right? It kind of maybe shifts away from a game idea because the practices are really most important too. So I think the answer is yes. We'll see how many of these events are there. And I think that we're in this stage now where I live it, where it's not cheap to run an all-star event. People don't know this. Maybe you know, Neil, but even the insurance piece is hard to get sometimes. That sounds like people never know about, but it's not easy to do that if you're not an established kind of event, and the costs are high and the variable costs are high. You get close to the event, oh no, we got to spend another $100,000 on X, Y, Z. So we'll see what happens. And I do think that, there's about 400 or 500 players every year in the draft that are really up for being drafted. And there's about 700 or so that are up for being high quality PFAs or drafted. You do the math there, that leads to between 3 and 5 All-Star games total is what maybe it has to end up being. I think that feels like the right number based off of how many guys get a real chance in the NFL, assuming those All-Star games do a great job evaluating these players. So hopefully that's a roundabout way of saying I think 3 to 4 ones that are really all exclusive, do a great job are necessary. I think, a couple others as well too. And the Dream Bowl does a good job as well. Neil Malbone and Chuck Sawyer a good job as well too. They're a paid All-Star game as well too. But there's a need for those other couple to be in the mix as well.
Yeah. Eric, you hit event is the right way to look at it because again, depending on the player, again, maybe as a scout, I couldn't care less what he looks like on the field. I've got multiple years of film, multiple matchups that I want, but again, the interview setting, or just to hear about how he was, again, for you guys with the Shriners kids, or in the interview process, or how was he during the week. And again, that leads to, again, every player having different questions that they have to answer. And again, that's where when the NFL or whenever, this is the way we're going to do all-star games, it's too rigid and doesn't give you the flexibility where, again, guys that are nursing an injury, hey, they can't go because I don't know. There's 30 teams that want to spend more time. And again, it becomes a philosophy question for 32 different teams. Interviews do matter. Interviews don't matter. We have the answers on them. As the event continues to evolve, and again, everything leading up to the game, because again, the game may not matter for almost anybody that's down at the event. Again, for some players it does matter. As the event surrounding it continues to change, evolve, what would you like to see from a flexibility standpoint where, again, it's truly like, hey, this is the feedback we're getting from the NFL teams that they do care about this, they don't care about this, but we want to make it open for everybody and be able to answer questions?
Yeah, I think for one, maybe kind of hitting it a little bit too, but I've been pretty open to that. Like, hey, if guys are going to be hurt and we invite them and they're a good player and an injury is going to lead them not to be an all-star game, I'm not going to disinvite them. I'll never do that. I've gotten a lot of pushback, as I'm sure you guys are aware. What is Eric Galko doing? The Shrine Bowl doing this? I don't feel bad about it. I'm not going to feel bad that Siobhan Ravel came to the Shrine Bowl because he tore his ACL, is going to be a top 100 pick and had to talk to NFL teams. I believe the All-Star game process is kind of 1/3 of the draft process, right? It's All-Star, it's the combine, and then it's pro day and combine and pro day together, and then it's private workouts, right? And if you take away 1/3 of that for a player on the interviews, that player is behind the 8 ball. For some guys, they're banged up from the year, they got to recover, they have to have immediate surgery. Curtis Rourke, for example, was going to come to the Shrine Bowl, found out he had an injury. He was just like, right, it was going to be leaving surgery, immediate rehab, and then the Shrine Bowl is going to be too tough for him. And I was like, I totally get it, man. But for guys that can do it, I don't want to have them miss the opportunity. I always tell players, and I do some interview prep now for players. I do a little bit for every single Shrine Bowl player because I want to help our guys be successful, but I do some private interview prep too. And I tell these guys that these NFL teams have watched you play for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons. They've never talked to you, right? If you want to change who you are as a player, it's not going to be in running better routes at an all-star game necessarily. It might be too late for that, but talking to you as a person and believing in you, you can actually change your stars. And here's what that is. And more importantly, telling them your story from your point of view, right? A lot of times you guys have been through it. You talk to a guy and you heard this and you hear his story and being honest and transparent. And you're like, shit, I was dead wrong. That kid's actually a really good kid. He's already told me why this is not the case anymore too. So I think the interview process is really important. And I'll always kind of be an advocate for that, whether it's telling the NFL on the Big 12 Pro Day or having, other all-star games kind of borrow that as well too. I think the other piece of it is making sure it's conducive to NFL scouts. And, I think there's a lot of stuff to do at an all-star event. The Shrine Bowl has it, the Senior Bowl has it. Like there's other events, whether it's partners, whether it's City of Mobile, whether for us it's Shriners Children's, a lot of really purposeful things, but it's a long week for these players. And if you don't schedule it right, it could be a long week and an unfair week to NFL personnel trying to do their jobs. And we've tried really, really hard to make it an 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. day for NFL scouts every day. And I think there's other ways to be creative in the schedule to make it even more conducive to NFL teams. And, one thing that I'll be doing because there has been some turnover in leadership of their all-star games is trying to, hey, we can be competitive with each other, but let's all talk together and let's make this really conducive to NFL teams. So I'll be hopefully leading that a little bit just because I think it's important for NFL clubs. And, there's time to be kind of competitive, time for all of us to learn from each other and work together. And I think, the Hula Bowl did some things I thought was really smart under Damon Talbot and Scott Phillips, right? I'm not going to be arrogant to not do those kind of things as well too. There's some things the Senior Bowl did I'm sure that are really good as well too. We can kind of share notes, help NFL teams. And I hope that's something we as an all-star game group can do because our role, for better or worse, is really, really important to the draft process. You guys know there are some executives and GMs who don't have time to watch college film in season. So they're playing quick catch up, meeting these guys, watch guys for the first time. And if we do a good job setting the table, then all of our players can benefit.
Mm-hmm. One of probably the biggest name that came to last year's game was Shedeur Sanders. He came out and talked to the media. Maybe did less than what teams thought he was going to do. We're not trying to pick on Shedeur Sanders, but given that so many people were so surprised by where he ultimately was drafted and how long he stuck around, were you surprised, Eric? Was that something that were you kind of clued off? Maybe there were some things that may delay his drafting more so than what other people thought.
At the Shrine Bowl, if you were to tell me Shedeur Sanders would be on the board past pick 10, I'm not a gambling man. I would have wagered a lot of money against you. And I think most people in the NFL would have as well. And I think the draft process has been, I'd imagine it will be documented, especially if Shedeur has the success I think he's going to have in the NFL. Someone will do a longer ESPN article or some documentary about it too, because it's a wild standpoint as well too. Did I have an idea week of the draft or a couple days before? I started getting some ideas that, okay, this could change too. And one thing on quarterbacks, I've told a lot of people this about Shedeur, and I'm not just doing this to defend Shedeur, but quarterbacks is pretty binary, right? A team is going to say he fits us or he doesn't fit us, and we need a quarterback, we don't need a quarterback. And if you are no on both those things, you're just not going to get taken by a team until the 4th, 5th round. And I think, Shedeur, I'm sure he's already said there's some things he wishes he can do differently in the process. I've always told people that Shedeur is as genuine, mature of a person I've ever dealt with as a draft prospect. I've dealt with some really impressive guys, and he'll come up to you, hey, sir, how you doing? How's your family? Just wise beyond his years, because he's been a professional since he was 16, 17 years old in his mind. And I think everyone I know that's dealt with him on a personal level will speak incredibly highly of him as well, too. And I'm not surprised at all that he's doing really well in Cleveland. I would be shocked if he's not on the roster, obviously, and I think he'll get a chance to start this year, and who knows where it goes from as well, too. But I was surprised, and hey, I would have loved to have Shedeur practice at the Shrine Bowl. I wasn't really aware he wasn't going to until a couple days before that I told NFL teams. And it wasn't because it was hiding the ball. We were ongoing discussions, but I thought in the end he'd be able to do so. He just wasn't able to do so at the time, and would have loved to have him there. But at the same time, his presence, his family's presence at the Shrine Bowl, them doing media, he didn't have to do that. It didn't make him do that. He did media. His dad was there as well. Didn't have to come to the game. Was there as well too. It brought so much awareness to Shriners Children's and the hospital mission as well too. And I think I've always told people that hey, my job is to have the event go well for players, NFL teams, but also my job is to hopefully use this event to generate more awareness for what the hospital does. And I won't say the dollar amount, but the dollar amount in terms of donations and awareness that the Sanders family brought to the Shriners Hospital and Shriners Children's is incredible. And I think Shador coming there, honoring it, taking the heat of not practicing, but still being there. Again, he could have opted out. He could have said, I'm not coming, but he made a commitment, was there all week long too, was great with the players, great with our coaches as well too. And I think everyone at part of the Shrine Bowl will be a Shador Sanders fan for a long, long time. And I think people that know him are as well too. And the story's not done on Shador Sanders. He's not going to be in the CFL in 3 months or anything. He's going to be in the NFL for a long time. And I may or may not already have his Cleveland Browns jersey here in our house. I have all the Shrine Bowl guys as well too, but I'm pretty confident he'll be a Cleveland Brown for a long time as well.
Yeah. No, I just got done watching film on Dylan and Shadir and a bunch of these rookie quarterbacks, and again, it's a lot of the same stuff he likes. He got drafted, which again gives him a chance. He's on a roster, which gives him a chance. Again, there's a lot of stuff that he does at a really good level. Another quarterback that, again, even if you want to say even more under the radar, that's having himself a pretty good preseason, Max Brosmer. Again, Minnesota, New Hampshire. I'll be the first to say that there's lots of people out there that 32 NFL teams missed multiple times. This guy, fire everybody. He should be a draft. Again, there's only 250 some draft picks. Like you said, quarterback is binary. Maybe this guy was appreciated more by some teams. They just didn't have the spot for him. Max Brosmer, again, this year's Brock Purdy, this year's guy. You're fired up about him. Tell us about Max Brosmer down at last year's game.
Max Brosmer, I have a tweet already in my draft. I already posted it once before, but I'll post it when he makes the roster in Minnesota. But my first year at the Shrine Bowl, full circle moment a little bit. Get the job down there. I go down to Atlanta because Quincy Avery was having his QB camp, and I was going down there to recruit a guy early. This is like probably June, July. Guy named Malik Willis. Wanted Malik Willis. Love Malik. Still think Malik's a great quarterback. I think he's going to probably start somewhere in the NFL after his contract's up here too, because he's a good player. Wanted Malik Willis bad. He was there working out. I wanted to go watch him practice, but I'm like, this guy's already good. I'm going to go talk to him. And I'm watching the quarterbacks throw, and off of the corner, I see the quickest release I've ever seen in a quarterback live. This is 2021, and it's Max Brosmer. And I have the video on my phone of him throwing it because I sent it to my director. I'm like, can you Google in our database who this guy is? I'm on the field right now, too. And I've talked to and followed Max and talked with Sean McAvoy and Quincy about Max since 2021. And to follow his career in New Hampshire, I was excited about him. Goes into a sophomore year, gets hurt, has a crushing injury. They miss his whole year. Comes back and healthy. Go to New Hampshire twice, and as a sophomore, junior, and senior season. Talk to the coaches there. They're raving about him. I mean, at New Hampshire, he's basically installing the offense on the whiteboard, like creating the plays himself. The school that there told me that, hey, this guy can be a doctor. Like, he can absolutely be a doctor, but he's decided to obsess over football instead of medicine. He's that kind of smart as a person as well, and goes to Minnesota, does all the right things with building relationship with teammates, the offensive linemen. Minnesota, the first couple of weeks, like all transfers, something unappreciated. It's really hard for guys to transfer and play, especially O-line and quarterback. And the first couple of weeks, the offense had to figure some stuff out. But last 6-7 weeks of the year, he was outstanding. And I think people just were slow to understand who he was and what kind of player he was. And even at the NFL Combine, the throwing session too, he was one of the best 4 or 5 quarterbacks there, if you watch that film as well too. So I was annoyed, but not worried at all when he didn't get drafted. I'm like, this is just classic. Like, it's just a classic miss. He's this year's Brock Purdy. I've said that on Twitter now, and I thought so at the time too, because of the mental piece, what his focus is, how efficient that he is too. And I'm excited for him in Minnesota. And again, I think similar to Brock Purdy, I'm not saying anything about JJ McCarthy, but like, Max is going to start games in the NFL in his career. May not be in Minnesota, may not be this year, whatever else, but I think people in Minnesota will tell you, like, this guy's going to start. I tell the story. I got a call probably a week or two into minicamp. Maybe I guess it's only a week long. Maybe the first week or right after minicamp was over with, from someone with the Niners who was like, Brock's going to start games in the NFL. I mean, they knew immediately, and it's a pretty similar about people in Minnesota as well too. So Max is a good example for me about why sometimes going to events and talking to guys and talking to like Quincy and Sean is really, really helpful in the scouting process. And I can say confidently, we didn't miss on Max Brosmer because of good scouting process as well too. And that hopefully serves us well, and hopefully serves Max well. He got a chance to impress the Vikings, who were there in full force at the Shrine Bowl last year as well too, because he was impressive in Minnesota, impressive in New Hampshire, impressive at the Shrine Bowl, and now is impressing in preseason as well too.
Eric, how did 32 teams pass him over? I mean, and I know that the draft process is obviously very uncertain, and there's a lot of, what's your theory?
I think it's really hard to be a draft pick at quarterback when you're not already on the radar, because it's so binary that if you don't leave your junior, and again, he won FCS. I think he won or was up for the FCS Offensive Player of the Year, so he should have been, I guess. But I think whether it's NFS or Blesto grades or being high pedigree, hey, Quinn Ewers, I mean, won 3 playoff games in college, right? And he went 7th round as well too. So I think that the pedigree matters a lot at quarterback. It's just hard to get over. But outside of that, I'm not sure, because I think he had, again, I get asked every year who's the next Brock Purdy. And I thought this coming year, going into their senior season, was going to be either Max or Dylan Gabriel, to be honest. Because I'm like, hey, undersized, played a lot of football. What I learned from Brock Purdy was that just seeing a lot of football and playing a lot and making mistakes and learning from them. You watch Brock's mistakes on, a 3-step drop on quick throws as a sophomore, interception. He never makes that mistake again. And same thing for Max and Dylan Gabriel. Like, they're not making the same mistakes when things are going wrong. They're not panicking. It's a lot of that impressive confidence that Brock Purdy had that I learned from watching Brock. Max and Dylan had that. So I'm not sure why teams are going to miss on the guys like that. Hopefully they stop in the future too. But there really is, in my opinion, he wasn't even that high of a PFA, right? He wasn't like the highest paid PFA either. He should have been an unbelievably in-demanded guy too, and not just a guy in Minnesota because he was up there recently too. So hopefully teams will miss the next Max Brosnan. There's 1 or 2 guys in this year's draft who I won't say, don't ask, in this year's draft who might be this year's Brock Purdy, Max Brosmer, but we'll see if they have the kind of year they need to as well.
Yeah, we'll get to some of those players that maybe you're excited about this year. We won't ask about the quarterbacks, but again, it'll be interesting to see Max Brosmer, 6-year college guy, Dylan Gabriel kind of in that same boat where, man, these guys have just been around forever. And again, some of these guys that have probably been a part of the draft class initial board for like 2 straight years before they finally, hey, yeah, this is finally the year. You call it scout fatigue. There were a bunch of those COVID scout fatigue guys where it's like, we've had the book on you for maybe 2 years or maybe 3 years in some of these cases, and somehow they end up with additional eligibility. They're back, and it's like, yeah, I've done my draft report for you for 2 or 3 years. And again, whether Max was a part of this conversation or not, again, who knows? But again, he's got a shot. Again, you're on a roster, you're playing preseason snaps. He's with a great offensive mind and Coach O'Connell. He's in a situation where, hey, JJ better step on the field and prove it, or he's got somebody right there behind him.
You're seeing the Brock Purdy comparisons, right? You're seeing it, right? Good coach, great offense, great talent. Sorry, but it gets me excited.
Yeah,
sorry,
it's good. Well, that same excitement again. There are players that are going to maybe part of that top 1,000. They're guys that you're really excited about. Who could we be looking at, for this 2026 game that maybe they're under the radar, maybe they're not under the radar. They're frontline guys that, hey, we've just been really impressed with everything we've seen so far from this kid.
I'll say a couple guys. One, I'll say some quarterback. One is one guy from Frisco area, Taylor Green, Arkansas, who's from the Dallas Frisco area and went from Boise State to Arkansas. And again, I think we're also Cam Ward, recency biased of like that 1-year transfer and having a great year. It takes 2 years most times, right? I think Joe Burrow took 2 years.
Yep.
Bo Nix took 2 years, going to come who was as well too. It's really hard. We forget these guys are 22 years old, transferring and taking classes and learning new offense. And it's much more difficult than NFL free agency. And NFL free agency takes a year sometimes. So I think Taylor Green jumps out as a Texas guy who's got a lot of talent, obviously 6'5", 240, looks like Cam Newton, has the arm talent with Bobby Petrino. I think he's a guy we're pretty excited about too. I know Bryce Lance at North Dakota State. Our guy Cam Miller speaks super highly of Bryce. Obviously, I've known Bryce. I talked to Trey Lance. He's with the Cowboys at the Shrine Bowl 2 years ago as well too. So he's a guy we're excited about. But really, it's another offensive tackle class that's loaded. It's a defensive tackle, defensive edge class that's loaded. A lot of guys we like. We had 24 guys on the Shrine Bowl 1000 from Texas Tech. So I'll be going to Lubbock probably 2 or 3 times this year with all those guys as well. They had a lot of guys. My guy Blanche did a great job adding some guys that the Shrine Bowl likes quite a bit as well too. So it's a good mix of guys in the Texas area as well as just guys all the players have heard of. And one of the cool things doing this now for 3-4 years is players refer. I know a lot of agents do that stuff as well, which I think is really smart. I had a client told me about this player as well too. But when players are like, hey, this guy is special, next level, it's really, really important to me to know that. And I think that's what we've gotten more and more every year of players telling us, hey, this guy's on the radar a little bit, but here's X, Y, Z, why he's a great player as well too. So referrals is a really cool benefit of doing this job for 3-4 years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What have you learned, Eric? I mean, obviously you've been around the game for a long time. You've worked in a number of capacities, but working at a premium all-star game is different. What have you learned about player evaluation in your 3 years that you didn't know before you got to that job?
I think I've gotten better and thankfully in a really special place on evaluating these guys' character and background. And one of the cool parts is I talk to about 1,000 players a year. And really, I use Brock as an example, not because I didn't see Brock coming. I'll say that clearly, but I knew in the moment that this was something different, and I've started taking really diligent notes every year on sometimes individual players, but just what I've learned, and then see the example in the NFL when it works out, when it doesn't as well too. And scouting, there's a lot of benefits of from a scouting standpoint. I'll get to in a minute, but the character piece I think is so important. I've come to appreciate it so much. That's why the interview process matters so much to me for our event. But talking to these guys raw, unfiltered, hearing the questions they ask me, what they're caring about, hearing the questions about picking an agent or transferring or all these things, all these small little aspects allows me to have really good grasp. Again, 1,000 players a year I'm talking to before their interview prepped. So I'm getting really raw, unfiltered opinions on who these guys are. I think it's made me, a really good evaluator of the character piece of these players and how it all fits together. And I've already always cared about that quite a bit. And then as a scout, our staff, we got to make decisions 7 weeks from now on who the best 100 guys in the draft are. I mean, we don't get any benefit of combine data or, sometimes measurable data at all. We're relying on the schools who may lie to us or whatever, right? And we're even NFL scouts. You guys know a lot of the national scouts or directors by mid-October, they may not have gone to a certain school, right? Not to mention just one time or in the summer or whatever else. So it really has forced us and our staff and myself personally to be really thoughtful in the preseason. And then be really decisive in season and not just wait or sit back and take it in. One thing we do this time of year, we're doing all of our meetings next week, is we've got again almost 4,000 players written up in our database. But I want our scouts to say, all right, what are the 3 to 5 things you're watching for to start the year, right? We're not going to just redo the whole freaking scouting report in September. That's a waste of time. But let's be really specific on it. All right, this guy struggled with A-gap pressure as a pocket passer last year. His deep ball wasn't there. And whatever, new system, whatever. But have those 3 to 4 things ready to go. So when we're talking about guys in September, October, we're talking about those things, not good athlete, whatever else. And it's allowed us to and focused us to be really sensitive to changes in who these players are year after year too. And it's the pressure of inviting these guys in October and not making mistakes, not getting guys wrong, allows us to all be really good scouts, not rely on the cheats you can rely on for scouting, whether it's other scouts or media or whatever else. We've got to be first and early, and it's forced us to be really smart with our process early in the season. So that process and character are the 2 things I'd say that I've gotten better at as a scout. And whatever my next role is in the NFL, whenever that time may be, I'll be much better for it because this game gave me that opportunity to do so.
Yeah, no, that is the number one thing. And we talk about it on this podcast all the time is you've done your summer work. We've looked at these guys from last year. Every guy has a couple questions they got to answer as whether it's early games, mid games, big competition. Again, we see some of these smaller school guys, group of 5 FCS, where it's like, hey, you get week 2 opportunity to answer a question against LSU or whoever it is. It's like, all right, you better answer the question this week. And again, having those 3 to 4 questions, we're going into 2025 film, answer these questions, and you're going to, get yourself in a really good position come All-Star game, combine, and draft time. That's what all these guys have these opportunities to do. Eric, you mentioned a couple of announcements. You talked staff, you talked upcoming partnerships, you talked about new features of the game or new features of the event. What are we going to be looking for? Again, if you make sure you're following you, Eric Galko, on X, following East West Shrine on X. What kind of announcements can we look throughout this fall, and which ones are you most excited about?
It's Twitter with the X.
Twitter, X, everybody, whatever, right.
Thank you.
I'm just kidding. No, the partner stuff is exciting. Again, partners, not just they're sponsoring the Shrine Bowl, buy their product, but there's a couple of events that we're adding to the shoulder events to the Shrine Bowl. So we're adding as well too. So that'll be all on shrinebowl.com. And I'll make a big deal. The ones that are big deals, the ones that are more of our partners, will kind of resurface back up to the season as well too. But my focus this year in terms of our partners or new events is making sure everyone who comes to the event gets more benefit than just practice. Our players are being taken care of at a best-in-class level, and hopefully have even more enjoyment of the event too. And by the way, we're planning on having most draft picks Shrine Bowl's ever had. most draft picks of any All-Star game this year. That's our standards this year, and we're excited.
And what's that number? What's the number we got to beat?
We need to be over 60, 70, 80 draft picks this year. We want to have, perfect world, we want to have 125 draft picks, right? All of our guys get picked. That's certainly within the realm possibility if we do our job perfectly too. So, but I hope and believe that people have changed. There's different conversation I've had with agents and people in the industry. I think people see what we're doing, and it's the fruits of our labor for 3 years, hopefully coming to roost this year as well too. But we hope that everyone can come down, media agents wise, feel welcome, feel comfortable, have a great time down there as well. Not be up super late at night. Enjoy yourself in Dallas, Frisco area, and we'll have a great Shrine Bowl this year in 2026.
Well, I think some people going to All-Star games and staying up late is all part of the experience. So again, that's up to them, not necessarily just going to be a part of what you do, which is going to be awesome. He is at Eric Galko on Twitter, on X, whatever you want to call it, new school, old school, whatever it is. Neil's at Inside the League. I'm at Right Step ADV. Eric, always awesome. Always appreciate all the insight. And again, I plan and hope to get you back on where we can really narrow in on, once we start getting some accepted invites, which again, we're about a week away from week 0, and games are going to start flying by, and real football is going to be happening. So we will look forward to that time, and really appreciate you being on today.
Appreciate you guys. You guys do a great job. Love listening to you guys will too. Best of luck this year, and we'll talk in the fall, guys.
Thanks,
Thank
buddy.
you.
Luck to you too, man.
Agents, before we go, make sure you go check out Agent Live 360. It is at agentlive360.com for everything you need for your agency, from players to coaches, managing profiles, tracking invoices, sending invoices, getting paid, keeping up on every element of your entire agency. Notification emails, file, folder, storage, ROI, transactions, invoices, calendar, contracts, teams, reps, everything all in one spot for you. That is Agent Live 360. Hop on, request a demo. Yours truly will hop on, walk you through it. I can promise you we will talk some football as well. Sign up now with code TRIAL90 for a 90-day, 3-month trial at just $10 a month for Agent Live 360. That's at agentlive360.com. Go check it out now.